Welcome to the Unstoppable Profit Podcast. This podcast will give independent insurance agents all of the tools to grow your business and live life on your terms. Wherever you are today, if you're starting with nothing or well on your way to the success you desire, with the right people, processes, and promotions in place, you will be unstoppable. And now I'd like to introduce your host, Mike Stromsoe.
I'm thinking back more than 20 years ago, and I was trying to figure out how to work a scanner. This little device that I had to clean the paper every week or it would turn black. And then we got rid of all the paper files in the office. That was more than 20 years ago. And we were on the fast track to operating in a paperless environment. Today, we are operating in an environment that works on its own with the advent of technology, automation, software, bots, RPAs, robotic process automation, and so much more. And I'm excited today to bring on a guest to the podcast who's an agent, a high-performing agency entrepreneur who's at the forefront of using technology, automation, software, bots, and everything else to its highest and best use to operate more profitably and more efficiently. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Rob Bowen. Rob, welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Wonderful to be here. Good to see you again. It's been at least a week.
It is good to see you again. And this conversation really was fueled by one of our 5 a.m. or before early morning outings. This particular outing was down on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, and you and I were walking, and there's nobody else around on the beautiful setting, and we got to talking about automation, technology, software, bots, and even doing things manually, pushing it down to the lower level. And the conversation was, we need to keep sharing this message because, as we were just discussing before we went on, this industry, the industry that we love, that has been so good to us, is ancient in a lot of ways, including from an automation and a technology standpoint. And we just want to continue to educate people. And we have one big encouragement for people today in this session, right?
Yeah.
But before we go there, in case anybody hasn't heard of Rob Bowen, and I can't imagine there's somebody out there who hasn't, but tell us a little bit about who is Rob Bowen. Thank you for your service to our country. You're a dad, a father. Take it away, Rob.
Yeah, my name is Rob Bowen. I own Patriotic Insurance Group. We're out of New York. I actually live in Pennsylvania, but the agency's out of New York. We went independent October of 2020, so about 4.5 years. 6 years prior was Farmers. Prior to that was Wall Street, and prior to that, I was in the Navy for 8 years, as Mike alluded to, and that was the best job I will ever have, despite the fact I love insurance. But I love the Navy, I love the military life and all that. So that's who I am. So we've been building up this independent agency for 4.5 years, did an acquisition about 15 months ago. And that's where a lot of this mindset around automation, robots, VAs started to show that it really does work and how to function using today's technology in a very archaic industry.
You said the word that I want to start with, Rob. Thank you. And thank you for all that you do for so many. You're one of the most giving people with your most valuable asset, which is time. And I see that, and I just want to publicly recognize that. Thank you for giving back. You have such a selfless heart in that way in many ways. But you said something that I want to jump into because, well, first of all, anybody that's out there either watching or listening to this, Rob's been an independent insurance agent for about 5 years, roughly. And so, and Rob knows where I'm coming from. Rob, if Rob can do it, anybody can do it, right, Rob?
Exactly. If I can figure this out, anyone can figure this out.
So it's just figuring it out. But what's the most important thing, right, Rob? It's mindset. And so let's try to help some people out there, because there's a lot of people that, I don't know, should we say fear, stuck in their old habits, stuck in their old ways, don't believe it's possible for them, and much, much more. So what would you say to somebody out there, Rob, who's watching or listening? How do they shift their mindset?
I think the problem right now is there's so much noise out there, and there's so many insurtechs coming at us day in and day out with all these wonderful ideas. They've got AI working, they've got bots working. I can completely automate your entire quoting process. I can automate data movement. I can, and the problem is most agencies don't have the foundation built. I had a
Mm.
conversation the other day with someone about this. And, if your data is not correct, if you haven't used the AMS you're using or the CRM correctly, and your data is all over the map, all this automation and all this AI is just it's going to be wrong by definition, right? Because now it's using data that's incorrect within your systems. So you really have to start with, okay, we use a lot of automation and a lot of the bots for data auditing and making sure our data in our AMS is correct. And then because everything kicks off of that, right? The AMS is the gospel. That's our E&O protection.
Mm.
And you got to get that right first. And you got to have a process to clean it up. You have to have a process in front of it to make sure it stays cleaned. And then all this stuff works really, really well, because when you start using bots and RPAs, it's just software. All they're doing is doing mouse clicks that you don't want a human to do. And if it's moving the wrong data around, you just created a huge mess. And I think that's where people lose it. And I think the other side they got to look at is my personal view. There's a big difference between going to AI bots but you got to start with automation. Like, what do you do in your agency that someone manually is doing? I asked this question the other day to a group of agency owners. I said, okay, who runs monthly and weekly reports? And everybody's hand went up. And then I said, who prints them out? And half the hands stayed up. And
So
I said,
let me pause right there. Half the hands went up and they still print them to a paper document off of a printer.
bingo, thank you. So and I said, why? And I didn't get a good answer. Like, well, we print out our renewal report every month. Why? And they're like, well, because that's what we do. And I'm like, but why? You just took structured data and made it unstructured. And that's
shall we say, because that's the way we've always done it and we don't know any better.
Exactly. So I said, okay, well, here's where automation kicks in. And that'd be a good example. Let's say renewals. Well, we have a renewal pipeline. So at day 45, our account managers get a task. Review the account. I don't need to run renewal reports. They get a task that says renew there's, so we're creating tasks, and that's automation. Like, you don't want to do that manually. So that's the first step. That has nothing to do with bots or AI or any of that fun stuff. Now, could you use those tools to help you with that? Yes. But that's the way you got to look at it, is what process do we do now? And is there a way to automate it? Is there a way to make this easier and take it away from a person? I'm not saying you shouldn't run reports within your AMS or your CRM, but those reports, in my view, and this is where the bots come in, run the reports for data cleanup. Run the reports I need to move data from here to here. I mean, theoretically, RPA could get rid of all the APIs. Now, that's a really bold statement, but that's what RPAs do. They just move data from one point to another. It's mindless mouse clicks, is what I love to call it. So,
and they organize it, right?
And they can do everything. They can create spreadsheets. Like, we have bots that create spreadsheets for us that we see every week. So all these monthly reports, have a bot do it. Why are you having a human go in? And now you can create templates and all that kind of stuff. And I get that, but you should be leveraging the technology we have to take this stuff off of someone's plate. What if that person's sick? What if people don't look at it? How are you auditing the fact that someone's actually looking at a policy? You have no idea if they did it. So the mindset, like you brought up in the beginning, Mike, is really the important part. You got to take a step back and say, where do I have friction in my agency? And what can I do to create less friction? It might not be technology. You might just get rid of it, right?
Maybe.
You might be able to delegate it. Let's delegate. I'll use an example of me. I used to run my whole E&S process. Now, I don't have a ton of E&S policies. I probably have 70, so it's not a big number, but I was spending a lot of time We all know the E&S world. It is painful. It's very profitable, but it's painful. So I turned it all over to Candela, my VA. And she built this beautiful spreadsheet, and she does it now. And now things just run like a top. So we didn't use a bot, but I delegated it down. She made the process better. Now she runs the whole thing. I don't have to do anything. I just pay the bills. Now, what I also do with a Candela, who lives in Argentina, she's a VA. I don't like the word VA, but that's
the teammate.
Teammate. That's what I call her. I call her Candela. She runs the bots. Like, she's in all the calls I have. I say, okay, Candela, what do you hate doing every day? I tell my team, your job is to put yourself out of a job every single day. If you can delegate this, get rid of it. We can have someone else do it. Let's do that. And let's centralize it. So she helped me build these bots. She's like, Rob, I hate doing this. This is painful. I do it every single day for an hour. And I said, okay, that's a bot. So we built a bot, and now she doesn't have to do that. We use the bots for data audit. We use the bots, just to make sure that everything is correct within our AMS. And all it does is it creates exception processing. That's a really key word. Otherwise known as straight through processing. So instead of looking at every renewal every single month, we can use automation. We can use bots to say, okay, instead of looking at these 100 renewals based on our rules, we only want to look at 10 of them. For whatever reason that is. You can't treat every client and every renewal the same, because now you're in this vicious cycle. And that's where people are right now in a hard market. To be fair, Mike, I am not in Texas, Florida, California, where they're seeing 80, 90, 100% increases. I'm in New York seeing 20 to 40. So it's a little more reasonable. I get if you'd have to remarket everybody, but why not bring in automation, technology, whatever that may be, to now take all your renewals and bring it down to a smaller number, just as an example.
Well, it's back to the data that's running the systems. And, I had a situation just yesterday afternoon. We own some commercial property in the downtown town that I live in. And one of the other property owners in that meeting was talking about his insurance and how his new company required that he take down the Christmas lights that generally hang year round on his building. I said, that's because of something that's happened. And that's an example, and I know that's kind of a long example of how technology can be used, but you build that into the back-end systems, and it does a check with people on their exposures and everything else. Roofs are a big, big deal nationally.
Yep.
So it's the back-end data that matters. But Rob, I want to dig in a little bit more. You said exception processes and tasks, so I'll let you think about that for a minute, but I also want to give you public praise and recognition for something that I now repeat a lot that you said in Nashville, Tennessee, within the last couple of years. Don't delegate tasks. What do you delegate, Rob?
Decisions.
Why is that important? And this is what you're doing. You just talked about Candela. You delegate decisions to her, and now you've taught her to delegate decisions to others.
Yep. The reason it's important is it prevents me from micromanaging. I think we are all natural micromanagers, and anyone that says they're not really needs to take a hard look at themselves. And
let me hit the BS button.
Yeah, exactly. And do I micromanage things? 100%. I still micromanage. But what I do is I say, listen, here's my problem. Here's the way we do it now. I'm giving this to you. You figure out a better way to do it. And I'm here as the leader. I'm here to provide resources.
Right.
I work for you. We all have this term now called servant leadership. Mm-hmm. That's what I learned in the Navy. We didn't call it that. We didn't know what that was back in the 90s, but that's what this is. So it's like, here's the problem. All the resources I can provide for you. You figure it out. So someone like Candela or someone like, Justina or anybody can be like, okay, well, I think we can do this better. Like, I usually get asked, why do you do it that way? Because I've always done it this way. Well, that's an unacceptable answer. Figure it out. But then I can say, listen, here's the outcome I want. Here's the problem. Here's the outcome I want. You figure it out. And then come back to me and tell me how you did it, and make sure that there's my ability to manage or lead based on, so I can look at a dashboard. Like, I don't need to dive into the details, but I need to have something I can look at so I can trust but verify. I will give Billy Williams all the credit on that comment. but I'm sure I learned it a long time ago, but he always keeps saying it. Plus I love Billy Williams, but trust, but verify. So now as the owner and as the leader, I can now look at some reports. I can do some spot checking. And if there's a problem, now we can go back and say, okay, we did this. Here's a problem. Now we can go back. And the beauty of this is that if you have bots now cleaning up the data and giving you, hey, there's a problem here. We're supposed to, like, we have a whole data audit process and we do this manually. And then we use bots in front of it to keep cleaning it up. So now I know my data is always good. I don't have to worry about my data. And then we find a problem, we fix it. But
you have the bots driving that up, correct?
With bots, what?
The bots are driving that up to a human who acknowledges the fact that we need to update this, fix this, repair the foundation, etc.
Yeah. The way I view it is if you're the account manager on the policy and you're getting paid, the bot or a VA, depending on what process we're talking about, will just create a task. I use Hawksoft, so we use the word task now, not suspenses. But it will create a task for the account manager, and we template this whole thing too, by the way. So the task is, hey, there's no email, there's no cell phone, there's no premium, whatever the thing is. So my service hub of 2 VAs and bots make sure that everything's there. But if there's a problem, it's not their responsibility to go find that data. The account managers, because they know where to get it. Like, hey, this thing, we have a bot doing expired policies, for example. Creates a task for the account manager, like, hey, the policy expired 5 days ago. What's going on? Right? And Candela manages it, and she knows where the expired policies are, but it's not her responsibility to figure this out because that would take her forever. So the account manager, and guess what? When we first started this, Mike, guess who the biggest problem was in my agency?
You.
Me, 100%. I've gotten a lot better about putting data in and making sure it's correct because I'm sick and tired of the bot auditing me and telling me I need to fix it.
So the way that you moved your mindset to where it is today, which basically I wrote this down, ask yourself in every activity or task in the agency, how can this be automated? And you didn't used to think that way. Now you do. It was basically because of the fact that you just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and going through it. And the bot and the technology kept hitting you upside the head so much that you finally came to see the light, so to speak.
Yeah. And the other thing too, you got to be careful of this. And I've been guilty of this is don't chase technology just for the sense of chasing technology. And I do get shiny object syndrome. I completely admit that, but you got to be able to say, here's my problem. How do I solve it? The issue, probably the best example is quoting. So people feel that good customer service is taking information over the phone, and people are going to disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Spending an hour on the phone, getting information, asking, I call silly questions. What's your name? What's your address? No, that's ridiculous. That's not customer service. Like, so let's use
today's world.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it is. So let's use a form. A client wants a quote. Great. Here's a form. Canopy Connect, something like that. You gather all the information, then we can call them back, and that's where we add value. Now, that data collection, that quoting, going to PL Rater, going to Gaia, going to wherever you need to go to, getting things to the portals, that can be done via a bot. It can be done via a VA. So now my high-priced account managers are not spending time quoting 3 different places. They now just show up and there it is. Now, my agency's not there yet. We're doing it piece by piece. So, but if you break it up a process into multiple processes and you think about each one, that's where you can start changing your mindset of, hey, how can we gather the information easy? Okay, that's a JOT form, that's gravity form, whatever. And then when you start getting
form stack, I think they're all similar.
Doesn't matter, anything. Just a form. Right. Canopy Connect's a great one too, because now we get all the information. How many agencies spend hours and so much time following up on a driver's license, following up on this? Nope. And our VAs, when that stuff comes in, our VAs are responsible for getting all the information. They know what we need. So if we get a lot of information, but we don't have a driver's license, they reach out to the client with an email that they have in their cell phone, say, hey, we're missing Mike Stromsoe's. We see he's in your house. We need a picture of his driver's license. They get it. The account managers will never even see that lead until we have all information to quote.
Yep.
So I just freed up account managers.
So let me touch on two things real quick because I want to make sure we get plenty of meat in the time we have left. Most importantly, I think it's important for everybody, and tell me if you agree or disagree, Rob. It doesn't, either way is fine with me. But technology and automation and everything surrounding that and bots, it's not intended to replace human beings. It's intended to support human beings. So human beings, because every person in an agency business, including the agency owner, entrepreneur, leader, should only be doing the things that only they can do. Okay.
Yep.
Peter Diamandis said 10 years, now 8 years ago, a couple of years ago, I heard this. He said 10 years from now, there's going to be two kinds of businesses. Businesses that have embraced technology and AI and they're using it efficiently to its highest and best use. And there's going to be businesses that are out of business. And we don't want anybody that's paying attention to this podcast or anything else that's progressive in the industry to be one of those businesses that are out of business. So, Rob, take people through a progression over the next 1 or 2 minutes on your agency and your thoughts on automation, technology, software, and then manually meaning pushing it down to VAs and, start with your agency management system. I know that you won't quote personal lines, or last time we talked about it, you don't quote personal lines unless people do something. Take it away.
Yeah. So we won't even quote unless someone uses Canopy Connect. And most people should know what that is, but basically the prospect logs into their current carrier and we get all the information within 30 seconds.
So when they call for a personal lines quote, your team member says basically, hey, in order to start the process, you need to do this. And if they don't agree to do it, what happens?
They're done. We don't care.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
disqualification. Very smart.
Now we have exceptions, and my exceptions, and this is the analogy I use. If someone's grandmother calls us, I'm not trying to make money on someone's grandmother. We will go through the process. But again, that's exception processing that we're doing.
Boom.
For someone, we don't treat everybody the same. Like, here's the Canopy link, do it. Here's the JOT form for commercial. So I get the tax ID, revenue, who you are. I get basic information to now know where I can go try to quote this thing. Otherwise, it's very piecemeal. So if they don't fill it out, typically they're price shoppers. We don't want them. Our closing ratio is really good because we bring in good qualified leads. And guess what? That Canopy link that's out there, if you have a deal with a real estate company, a mortgage lender, something like that, they just have to give their client the Canopy link and we get all the information. And sometimes I had a client that was with Liberty and I ended up with 20 of his rental properties that were sent to me via Canopy.
Nice.
It's a great conversation.
Yep.
So it's really leveraging and figuring out where the process should be, who should be doing it. I'll give you another great example. Victoria, who lives in Bolivia, answers our phones. So someone calls for a quote. Hey, my name's Rob Bowen. I'm looking for a quote. She's like, okay, sir, let me get your email and your cell phone. I'm going to send you a Canopy Connect link, which is going to allow you to send us all your information. Once we have everything, a licensed agent will get back to you. Guess what just happened? Victoria handled a situation which would have taken an hour and would have been a transfer to an account manager who would have to collect all the information manually, put it into a management system that now has to move to a rater, blah, 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 blah. Now my account managers don't even realize it until that information is waiting for them, either in Hawksoft or in a rater. I don't care where it is, but it's now structured. It's somewhere in our systems, and now we can move all that data. That just saved an hour of someone's life. Or they're calling me for commercial insurance. Great. Commercial insurance, we're going to send you a JOT form, fill out who you are, basic information. Now I go, oh, they're a landscaper. We're good at landscapers. I'm rolling. Oh my God, they're a general contractor in the Bronx. I'm not writing this. So we use it to get to know quickly is the point. Get to know quickly.
And to be able to serve people better. And I'll suggest that if you don't have it yet, I might suggest you add this in the JOT form or whatever form, embed a video that just reinforces the fact this will allow us to serve you better and faster and more completely.
Yep.
Right? So, Rob, automation, technology, software, doing things manually. And when we say doing things manually, we're talking about pushing it down to the lowest level my now loved form. Nothing happens until somebody sells something, push it down to a licensed CSR. That person should only be talking with people about their insurance program 95% of the time. Everything else, push down to the processor, push down to the RPA, which is robotic process automation.
Yep.
So that's where the manual is, pushing it down to them. It's human beings saying, do this to support, and those are trained to bring it back. So, I've got a list here. And this is going to be a passionate mission that I am on to help the independent insurance agency owner and leader get to the mindset they need to get. Because, Will Rogers said, if you just sit there, you're going to get run over and left behind. And we don't want anybody in that boat. So, Risk Advisor, SALT, Levitate, Client Circle, PL Raider, Indio, Go to Connect, Upwork, Lava Automation, Assurance, Quotamation, Loom, Neon, Zapier, Rmail, Glovebox, Insurance Agent App, Ascend, Teams, EasyLinks, Hawksoft, Agency Zoom, Adapt API, Calendly, QuoteVids, JotForm, Lyft Local, Google Drip, Circon, Canopy Connect, Advisor, and Elevate, Lightspeed. This is a list from a recent mastermind session. So this is just some of the things that agents are using. Simplify it for us, Rob. Automation, technology, software. What's your best advice in 2 to 3 minutes on how to bring all that together, and what do you do?
First thing is figure out where your problem is. As you're pushing stuff down, again, I love your chart of CSR. I think 80% of what we do every day is non-licensed work. So that's your first problem, right?
Agree with you.
I actually had someone say, I think it's 90. So no one's been able to go below 80. That's all got to be pushed to VAs or unlicensed people. You can have them in the US, doesn't matter to me, or robotic processing. So when you look at your process, figure out what you want to do. There is so much out there right now. There's so many insurtechs trying to automate everything. Go to another agency owner that you know and trust. Okay. I tell people I have strong opinions. It doesn't mean I'm right. I have technology that I love. It doesn't mean it's the best for you. It doesn't mean it's best for me, honestly. So, because the problem is you're getting sold to at this point. So figure out where your processes are, figure out what you need to delegate downwards, and then start figuring out ways to do it. I just want to bring up a point. What got us here is not going to get us to where we need to go. I just paraphrased that.
What got us here is not going to get us to where we want to go.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So that's where technology comes in. Technology is not going to replace people. Technology is augmenting people. Because let me tell you something, the agency my size, there's probably still 10 or 15 things that we just don't do that a larger agency does because they have the people and the resources and the money and all that. So everything I can automate or have a robot do, now I can have my team do another task. Policy comparison, making phone calls for all our renewals. All that stuff. Most small agencies don't do any of that because they can't. So it's not going to replace anybody. You're now going to start acting like a bigger agency. You're going to look bigger to the outside. And guess what? If you're using technology and you're telling people about it, when I'm talking to business owners, I talk about what we do in my agency. That's a lot better conversation than talking about general liability. Trust me.
100%. And there's now technology out there that can answer those questions.
Yeah. Yep. And we're using some of it. As you and I have spoke about, we built an AI bot of my son, who's a commercial producer, bringing in some other information. So now it helps him now we don't automate that whole process. He is not going to start spamming people on LinkedIn. So I want to make that very clear, but it will help him create emails. It will help him create blog posts. It'll help him. Now he can target emails at a specific person, because the bot is going out and AI is going out and scraping. So now we get more emails and more cell phones of the decision makers we're trying to go after. So he updates his lead list with good information and then can target emails to them. So he has AI and a bot helping him to do production stuff. That's really cool.
And I'm sure someday we're going to see the Rowan bot coming along, and Rowan is Rob's grandchild. So anyway, I can't wait for that. And there's going to be a Kennedy and a Jameson and a Nate and a Taylor and all that, which are grandchildren. So, hey, the future is bright. And for those who use it smartly and the right way, and that's why we're here. We're encouraging people to get in the right mindset, take the steps, I learned from the billionaire many years ago when I invested a day to learn from him on how he became a billionaire. He said, look, when something goes wrong, you got to think about it like this. Nobody died. We can recover and move on. So it's kind of like that with technology. I mean, you're not going to break it.
No, Mike, I say this all the time, and this is from my military background. Okay. And this is not patting myself on the back. So everyone out there that was in the military knows this, but every day someone could die in the military, whether it's in combat or training, right? And decisions are being made, split-second decisions are being made based on our training. In business, no one's dying if I make a bad decision. But guess what? No decision is a decision. That's where we get paralyzed. We get paralyzed in this business because you know what? I'm just going to keep kicking that can down the road. I'm not going to bring in robotics. I'm not going to bring in VAs. I'm not going to do this. And we keep kicking it. That's a non-decision. That's a decision. Call it deer in the headlights, however you want to view this. And that's where we get stuck. I bring in technology. I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of insurtechs. So I always offer my help to them. Like, hey, I'll be your test dummy. Let's go. And it works. I'll be your guinea pig, whatever generation you're from. But guess what? Right. Now I help them shape it to what I'm looking for. But more importantly, I want them to know 83% of us are below 1.25 million. So you got to figure out your tiered pricing. If you don't want me for your client, that's great. I respect that. But don't kid yourself if you think you're going to sell to 32,000 of us and have a price point of $5,000 a month. That's just not going to happen. So That's the battle I'm fighting, and it works. But you've got to really start thinking hard about how do I leverage what's out there in small increments and just make small decisions and end up. I mean, 3 years ago, I didn't have any of this. 4.5 years ago, I didn't have an independent insurance agency. I'm 61 years old. I'm a baby boomer. I said, Mike said to me, if I can figure this out, anybody can. But your mind has got to shift to understand how you can leverage this and just do it. Just try it. You're not, I Adapt API. I'll give a huge shout out. That's the best thing. If you have personal lines, why are you not using this? Just try.
That's a great place to start. I'm going to second that. Jacob Simon has been on our podcast, and you might want to go revisit that podcast as well. That's a great starting point for people. It's, budget friendly and the whole 9 yards. You can learn from that. And once you start learning from that platform, then you can move on to everything else. Rob, like you said in the beginning, we could go on for hours about this, but I just want to repeat something that Rob just said, because I think this is a great way to wrap the podcast today. No decision is a decision. And so for everybody out there that watching or listening to this, listen to Rob, like most intelligent people do. No decision is a decision. So make that decision to do something, to learn, because that's the only way that you're going to, get to the next step. We never lose, right? Like my shirt says, we never lose. You either win or you learn, period. And that's how we're going to learn what we need to do. But it's your mindset. And it's the foundation of data that you're allowing the technology and the automation and the software and everything to use. And keep it simple. Simplicity, certainty, and clarity. Don't take on 12 different pieces of automation. You do want to ask yourself, in every activity, can this be automated? And if so, which automation is best for my agency? And then test that, right? And that's lastly why we love the power of our UPP community. We have the tech section of our UPP community where people trade information, et cetera, et cetera. So Rob Bowen, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure as always. I'm looking forward to our next walk so we can solve all the world's problems.
That may happen sooner than you think, like within the next week. Wink.
Wink, wink, yes.
I can't wait. I saw that, I think yesterday or the day before. I'm excited, brother. Can't wait to see you again. And if this is your first time on the podcast, welcome. My name is Mike Stromsoe. I'm widely recognized as a leading author, speaker, and coach for the independent insurance agency industry. You can learn more about what we do at upplife.com. That's upplife.com. Everything that we do is geared to helping agents grow their business, create wealth, and have more freedom, all pulling from over 35 plus years as a proud independent insurance agent. And we're just sharing the tools and the resources all based on our philosophy of the 3 Ps: excellent people, world-class processes and systems, so people can promote the heck out of it. And when you do, and I love that, I'm going to blend this in today. No decision is a decision. So make the decision to do something and use the people, the processes, and the promotions to grow your business, create wealth, and have more freedom. And if you know somebody who might get great value out of the intense knowledge that came from this podcast, please share our podcast portal with them, unstoppableprofitpodcast.com. And if you haven't, encourage them and do it yourself to go up to the top and click subscribe so you don't miss one valuable episode. We are dedicated and passionate about helping independent insurance agents grow their business, create wealth, and have more freedom. Rob, have a great day. Give Rowan a hug. I'll see you soon. You rock.
Thanks, Mike. Look, I'll see you soon. I'll see you next week.
All right, everybody, take care, and I will see you on the next episode.
Do you love the podcast but don't know where or how to get started? Visit www.upplife.com. That's UPPLIFE.com to learn more about our coaching and mastermind programs and how you can join our community of growth-oriented agency owners today.